As I continue to explore and listen to more music, I'll every once in a while run into an artist that's become scrutinized and even hated by their own fans. The sentiment of, oh, their music is great, but they're a terrible person is pretty common, but that doesn't change how interesting it is, especially in those really extreme cases. A phrase you'll commonly hear in scenarios like this is, separate the art from the artist, basically telling you to separate a body of work from the personality that made it. This, for the most part, works for the majority of music listeners, but interestingly enough, I've started to see this idea get challenged. This is mainly due to the antics of certain public figures. Some say there's times where you just simply can't separate the art from its creator because they've done something so repulsive that you can't even listen to a song by them in good conscience, or the thing that makes them a horrible person to begin with is also present in the music. Today, I want to analyze this phenomenon, look at a few instances where separating the art from the artist is employed, as well as instances so extreme that some people argue that it's just simply impossible to do so. Let's get into this. Level 1 is going to look at artists who aren't that great of figures, but you'd never really be able to figure that out just by listening to their music. Such as the frontman of The Smiths, Morrissey. On September 27, 1986, Morrissey would be interviewed by Melody Maker, where when asked about the state of black music, he would claim that he detests it. He would also go on to then insinuate that there is a black pop conspiracy that was keeping white indie groups down. Believe it or not, this wouldn't be the only time that Morrissey was a racist dickhead, but despite all of this, Morrissey's music has gone on to become widely celebrated and even beloved by thousands and thousands of people. Heck, even I have a Smiths album. Why is this? Well, back when the Smiths got popular, people didn't have the ability to just research all the members like we can now. They had linear notes on records, tapes, and CDs they had, and magazines, and maybe a DVD if they were lucky. Combo this with the fact that a lot of the lyrical themes you'd see in their music were left-leaning, and it makes a lot of sense why a band containing Morrissey as a member was able to succeed in a left-leaning scene. And with Morrissey's stupid worldviews absent in the lyrics, it makes sense why they're still gaining fans, at least to me. Now, this is just one case. I could go on and name like 10 more. I mean, the vast majority of artists before the 80s weren't good people. Eric Clapton went on a huge anti-immigrant rant at a show in 1976. John Lennon and Ringo Starr both beat their wives. And Michael Jackson was creepy as shit. I could go on and on. There's a whole other world to this though, and let me show you what I mean. Black metal is a subgenre of metal that is infamous for its history. I'm not going to go over all of it in detail because there's already enough video essays on the topic as is, but the gist of everything is Norway had a growing scene of edgelords who all sought to out-edge each other. Corpses were mistreated, churches were burned, and people were even killed, all in the name of extreme music. This would obviously lead to some bands with extreme figures behind them becoming popular. I mean, Mayhem's De Mysteriis Dam Satanas is one of the only albums I can think of, honestly the only album I can think of, where a murderer and their victim both perform on it, and this is one of the first albums that people get put onto when getting into black metal. Varg Vikernes, the murderer in question, had his own solo project by the name of Burzum that would also become essential to the genre. He also was a huge racist asshole and continues to still be that to this day, as well as also committing genuine church burnings. You can see one of the results of those burnings on his Ask EP. Emperor's drummer would also kill someone, and so would John from Dissection. Needless to say, black metal is filled with some interesting characters, but despite this, the music would still gain a strong cult following, and still does to this day. I mean, you're looking at a guy who owns multiple Immortal albums, but can you blame us? Sure, the history's dark, but most of the music is only about Satan and all that edgy stuff that metal was already kind of about before black metal was around. Some bands would even choose to write about mundane topics like folklore and nature and shit. Hell, that's what the majority of Burzum's music's about. And when you ask people like me why we like the music, you'll never get an answer like, oh, the ideologies behind the music, or the dark history, because we're here for the riffs. Now, we're just at the tip of the iceberg with this genre, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. Let's keep digging. Level 2 is going to examine artists who aren't good people, and their music kind of helps to document that. Let's start with the one I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for, Kanye West. For the past couple of years, Kanye has been essentially destroying his career. Stemming from his divorce from Kim Kardashian, this entire thing starts with Kanye and his then partner, Bianca Censori, being seen wearing White Lives Matter shirts, followed by Kanye tweeting anti-Semitic remarks, leading to him being disinvited from the Grammys and him pulling out of Coachella. He then would show up at a Skechers conference, uninvited, got kicked out, and then publicly condemned by Skechers. After that, he'd allegedly share a meal with the alt-right commentator Nick Fuentes and President Donald Trump. He'd also announce his plans to run for president in 2024 shortly after. Kanye would then be seen on Alex Jones's InfoWars, saying a whole bunch of controversial things and even going as far as praising Hitler. This all culminated in Adidas announcing they were cutting ties with him and his Yeezy brand due to allegations of mistreatment towards employees. And this all only happened from October to December of 2022, so needless to say, there is a lot I have not mentioned. I'm not going to go over all of it because it's a lot, and this man has already gotten too much attention as is. But here are some highlights. Kanye and Censori would show up to the Grammys with Censori wearing essentially nothing. Censori and Kanye would split soon after, and Kanye would show up to an interview with academics in a Black Klansman's robe. He'd also release a song literally titled Hail Hitler. It's gotten bad. Pretty much most fans have jumped ship at this point, and the only time you might see someone praising him is in some senseless Twitter thread. Kanye was always controversial and outspoken, but never quite to this degree, especially considering the fact that his music never contained anything quite as abhorrently obnoxious as anti-Semitism and sympathy towards fascism up until this point. This very reason is why most people find it impossible for them to not only support Kanye, but even listen to any of his new material. And the music just kind of sucks and is filled with like AI generated verses and shit. It's just bad. Well, there's also a small sect of black metal that thrives off of this very idea. Music so disgusting in its messaging and symbolism that it could have them protested everywhere they perform and even flat out banned in countries like Germany. I am, of course, talking about the hate-filled world of National Socialistic Black Metal, commonly abbreviated to NSBM. This is black metal that's lyrical themes, imagery, stage presence, an entire aesthetic, etc. all revolve around Nazism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, or just bigotry in general. They write songs detailing their belief in a supreme Aryan race. They fly swastikas at their live performances, and they plaster Hitler all over their album covers. These bands thrive off of shock value. And while I can guarantee you a good amount of these bands are just filled with edgelords trying to add to the pile of edgy music, hoping that their attempt at dark humor will make them the king of all edgelords, but I can also guarantee you that a good amount of these people also fully believe and live these ideologies. The band members of Absurd would kill a 15-year-old boy because he was spreading rumors about the band. This, combined with the band's bigoted lyrical themes, would get them labeled as a right-wing extremist group by Germany. Hendrik Mobus, the then drummer of the band and now current vocalist, is also the man who founded the far-right neo-Nazi group Deutsche Heidnische Front. Yeah, not great, guys. Molotk is a Russian NSBM band founded in 2003. Never listened to them, couldn't tell you the quality of their music. Same with Absurd, by the way. The only reason I'm bringing them up is because of their rather infamous frontman, Alexei Levkin. Alexei Levkin would be arrested for assaults and 3 murders of racial minorities in 2006, but would be deemed mentally unfit to stand trial due to the fact that he was literally worshipping Hitler like a deity and was relentlessly praising other Nazi officials. He was sent to psychiatric treatment and would be released in 2011. He'd later get arrested for attempting to form a neo-Nazi organization, but once he was released, he would flee to Ukraine and form Wotanjugend, another neo-Nazi organization. This one recruits neo-Nazis worldwide, teaches them how to use guns, and holds lessons on racial theory. So yes, while a good chunk of these people in this scene are just losers LARPing as Nazis, there are a good amount of them who do genuinely believe in this and are just vile people. Now, just as a note, most of the people who listen to this music listen to it for the music, not the ideology spouted in the lyrics. A good amount of the time, the lyrics aren't even in English and the rest of the aesthetic doesn't immediately give it away. And most of the people I talk with are fine with blindly listening to music and not researching the artist behind it, and that's okay. I also have seen a discussion about whether or not certain bands have been properly labeled as NSBM. Some bands feature lyrics criticizing Judaism and Islam in the typical metal fashion, and because of this, they get the infamous label of NSBM attached to them. And this, to me, makes sense. Metal has always been harshly critiquing Christianity nearly since the beginning. Why are the other big religions off limits? Change the title and lyrics of Kill the Christian by Deicide, a band highly beloved and seen as classic, to Kill the Jew or Kill the Muslim, and chances are people are going to get a little more uncomfortable. The waters can be a little muddy when it comes to this topic, especially when you think about certain aspects such as Judaism being an ethno-religion, meaning tons of people who are technically Jewish but not practicing the religion are being dragged into these people's hatred. This is a sloppy topic with a lot of nuance in it, and I've thought about making my own video strictly about NSBM and the ins and outs of listening to it and supporting it and but I'm not sure. Maybe that's it for this level, but believe it or not, it actually gets worse. Let's dive a little deeper, shall we? In this final level, I'm going to look at the only two instances that I can think of where an artist did something so disgusting that nowadays you would be hard-struck to find anyone willing to call themselves a fan of them. First band I'd like to look at is Blood on the Dance Floor. Their music can be described as some sort of unlistenable variation of electronica, electropop, dance pop, something like that. Their music won't really be the forefront of this though, aside from one song, but we'll get into that. Davy Vanity, the group's frontman, would be accused of sexual assault, child sexual abuse, and rape by over 20 women. This led to multiple former bandmates calling Vanity a predator, with one of them even alleging that he was forced to tour without his HIV medication, leading to him nearly developing AIDS. Thankfully, he was able to recover after parting ways with the band. Even Jeffree Star has rightfully gone against this dude at one point. But while all of this that I've just said is disgusting in itself, this wouldn't really be enough for him to be mentioned on here, because unfortunately, things like this are somewhat common in music, and there have been other figures before him that have done similar things. The main reason why they're here is because of how they'd react to a certain allegation. An 11-year-old girl named Jessica Leonhardt, who goes by Damien now, would upload a video calling out Davy for his gross sexual misconduct. Davy would catch wind of this video, to which he decided to write, record, and release a diss track on her where he calls her a slut. The song is called You Done Goofed, and I've heard multiple people describe it as the worst song of all time with complete sincerity, and I really cannot blame them, and I can't really say they're wrong. Even if you ignore the horrid lyrics and backstory, the song sucks musically as well. Like, it just sounds like shit. Literally has nothing good going for it. This guy's a fucking loser. But believe it or not, this isn't it though, because 4chan would catch wind of this entire situation and begin to harass and just cyberbully Damien relentlessly. They would be doxxed and just constantly harassed by people online, especially after they would upload a video of their dad yelling at the camera, telling all of the people online to stop and leave them alone.
So you haven't been able to eat, I haven't been able to sleep.
Well, guess what? And my daughter's not lying, and I'm not going to put up with any of you people's crap anymore. If you ain't got something nice to say about my daughter, then keep your mouth shut, and any more of your comments that put on there, I'm recording them all, and they are being sent to the police department. And guess what? Your emails will be caught and will be bound, and who said you're going to beat my daughter up? You will have to deal with the police.
It got so bad, Damien and their home were put on police protection. Needless to say, Davy putting out a song mocking Damien only emboldened the people on 4chan, as Blood on the Dance Floor would gradually lose relevancy due to everything surrounding the band and a pretty much completely destroyed reputation, and the internet stalkers gradually losing interest, the harassment would decrease. But unfortunately, an experience like this is just bound to leave scars. The combination of bullying an 11-year-old and mountains of sexual misconduct accusations led to Blood on the Dance Floor nearly entirely dying off in popularity. I'm sure they're out there, but I have never met a single human being who is a fan of the band, or willing to say they are at least. And I'm not too upset by that, but the thing I am upset by, however, is the fact that it doesn't look like Davy ever served jail time for what he did. Yeah, genuinely gross. The final band I'm going to look at is easily one of the most disgusting cases in all of music history. Lost Prophets was an alternative rock band formed in Wales in 1997, and unfortunately, they aren't really remembered for their music. Vocalist and founding member Ian Watkins had always kind of been rumored to be a creep, with people even attempting to report him to authorities in 2008 for sexual misconduct and giving illicit substances to children. His own girlfriend would report him in 2010 for showing off horrific images of the crimes he'd committed. Unfortunately, police didn't really do anything about these reports, and it obviously persisted. Due to consistent drug abuse, Watkins' relationships with his bandmates would struggle. He'd avoid contact with them almost entirely, and requested his own dressing room away from the other 5 members. This dressing room would be where a lot of the abuse would happen. While the band was recording their 4th album, Watkins' girlfriend would become aware of the fact that he was abusing a 2-year-old girl in California. She'd contact the parents, letting them know of this, and they would also get in contact with authorities, leading to him being reported once again, but they once again did not do anything about this. Watkins would finally start to get arrested in 2012, but not for what you'd think. They'd arrest him for drug charges and let him off on bail. He would then be arrested again only a couple months later for drug possession and an allegation claiming he possessed an explicit picture of a child. Kind of depressing that if this prick wasn't a junkie, there's a chance he would have gotten away with it for much longer. I don't want to go over the whole trial because it gets just progressively more and more depraved as you figure out more and more about what this guy did, but this man is about as disgusting as it gets. They'd find obscene content involving children, animals, and even a baby boy. They discovered that the password to his laptop was I fuck kids, and some of the videos and images that they'd find weren't just CP, it would be videos and images documenting the things Ian Watkins had done. Due to the wall of evidence against him, Watkins would plead guilty to most charges and would end up getting 29 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. The band would obviously disband, and nearly all fans stopped supporting and listening to the band. Yes, I would definitely say Ian Watkins is one of the most evil and depraved musicians of all time. But if it makes you feel better, he would be taken hostage and stabbed in prison. Non-fatally, though. He'd also be found with a cell phone in prison, where he'd allegedly be in contact with a girlfriend and fans of Lost Prophets outside of prison. And after a short trial, they would have 10 months added to his sentence. Like the loser he is. Just really gross. Well, guys, those are the cases I had for you, but there's still something to talk about. What differentiates these cases from each other? Why did problematic aesthetics cause Kanye to lose his fans, whereas black metal bands can thrive off of it? Well, honestly, it's pretty simple. These scenes are different. Hip-hop is a scene where racism is constantly met with ridicule and pretty much just forced out. I mean, this exact idea is why Tom MacDonald will never be successful in the genre, no matter how much talent he gets. Yes, he'll have fans, but he'll never be seen as a rap god or a hip-hop king or anything close to that. Black metal, on the other hand, is built on being as evil, edgy, and controversial as possible. Some of the most important early figures of black metal did what bands like Slayer and Motorhead did with things like satanic imagery and even Nazi imagery, and they just ramped it up because they knew that it would piss people off. This, unfortunately, and obviously also attracted genuine white supremacists, and they throw their own black metal into the mix as well. To be honest, most of it sucks because these guys are just posers who don't actually like the music. They're just here because they can be racist and they won't be yelled at. What happens if you just happen to hear something off of Vultures 1 and you happen to think it's pretty catchy, or you're exploring black metal and you find a good album just to find out that the dudes behind it are proud neo-Nazis? Does enjoying their music make you a bad person? In my opinion, no. As long as you have the mental maturity to disconnect yourself from the ideologies spouted in the lyrics, then no, I don't really see why you'd be a bad person for listening to music made by problematic artists. I like Behemoth and Deicide. The early Deicide albums, some of my favorite death metal. That was some of the first stuff I listened to when I got into the genre. These bands are both openly anti-Christian and very satanic. Am I a Satanist? No. Do I hate Christians? Also no. In the end, to me, when you can't separate the art from the artist, you just have to separate yourself from the art. Yes, it's great to have music that you can personally relate to and feel like you really connect to on a one-to-one personal level, but does every single song have to be like that? In my opinion, no. I think it's very possible to just like something because it sounds cool to your ears. I don't know, man. This is undoubtedly a complicated topic, but I really feel like there's not one solid answer for everyone, and the best way to do things is just go by your own discretion. Like, if you personally feel uncomfortable listening to NSBM and other forms of music that are kind of gross like that, honestly, I 100% empathize and understand why you feel that way. But guys, that's it. That's all I had. Rip Ozzy. Rip Ozzy. Alright, if you agree or disagree, I don't know, let me know in the comments. Share this with a friend. Share this with a black metal loving friend, or that one friend that's still, acting like Kanye is a genius. Maybe you may change some minds or some. I don't know, man. Do what you want. Like, subscribe, dislike, block me. I don't care anymore, man. Bye, guys.